One of the things to keep an eye on for Mortal Kombat 12 is the direction of the story, because right now, as we know it, it's probably going to be another reboot type of story, and it might take place thousands of years before the first Mortal Kombat tournament and take place in the Great Kung Lao era, and this is if they decide to follow through with the ending of Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, at least Liu Kang's ending, which is most likely the canon ending. Or is it? So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 storylines that we could expect to show up in Mortal Kombat 12. Before we get started, I want to draw your attention to one thing, and it's very, very important. I just created a big voting poll to calculate the community's most wanted characters for Mortal Kombat 12. So what I'm asking from you in the voting poll is to select your top 5 most wanted characters, how many new characters you would like to see in Mortal Kombat 12, and to let me know your most wanted guest character in Mortal Kombat 12. Currently, right now, I have over 600 responses, almost 700 responses, and I'm trying to make this the biggest community poll out there that's asking for character requests, so we can get as much of an accurate view as we can from the community on what they want in terms of characters on the roster. So click the link down below and make sure you vote in that poll, and I will be making a video talking about the results of that poll. Also, make sure to join the discussion in my Discord. We're also trying to make that the biggest Mortal Kombat Discord out there, and you can make that happen by joining the Discord. The link is down below. But without further ado, let's talk about today's topic. A disclaimer you all should know is that I'm not going to be focusing on the whole plot of MK12. That'll be probably saved for a future video. I'm just talking about individual storylines that we could see. Like, some of them are character specific, some of them are realm specific. What do I mean by that? Well, let's get into number 5. And number 5 is that we could possibly be seeing new versions of classic characters in this story. Now remember, the ending of Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, at least Liu Kang's ending in Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, brings us to a rebooted timeline, and it brings us to a point in the Mortal Kombat lore that takes place thousands of years before the first Mortal Kombat game. And so if we're following through with that story, characters like Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Kano, Jax, Kung Lao did not exist yet. And those are classic characters. Those are pretty much staples in every single Mortal Kombat game, at least in the modern games. And it's hard to think about a character like Johnny Cage sitting out, so are we going to see a new version of Johnny Cage, like Johnny Cage's ancestor, Sonya Blade's ancestor, but the character is still called Johnny Cage and the character is still called Sonya Blade? It's just not the Sonya Blade that we know. I don't know if a lot of fans are going to like that, but I do think that you can get away with maybe Sub-Zero, because there are multiple Sub-Zeros. There's Bi-Han and Kuai Liang. This could be the grandfather of Bi-Han and Kuai Liang. But you also have to ask, how are you going to do Scorpion? There's only one Scorpion out there. Could you maybe write a story where Quan Chi had a previous Scorpion? Because Quan Chi at this point is still around. So how are they going to handle this? Are we going to see new versions of classic characters? Obviously, I don't have a definitive answer, but it's a possibility that we could see in the next game. At number 4, we have Shang Tsung's ending possibly being continued. So I have an idea. What if we follow through 2 different storylines? We follow through Shang Tsung's ending from Aftermath, and we follow through Liu Kang's ending in Aftermath. And you as the player from the beginning of the game choose which one you want to play through. And maybe in Shang Tsung's ending, it takes place in a time period where the classic characters like Johnny Cage, Jax, Sonya, Kano, and any other character that doesn't exist in Liu Kang's time period. And that can be the way that NetherRealm can use those characters and put them on the roster without trying to make new versions of Johnny, Sonya, and Jax and put them in the Great Kung Lao time period or Liu Kang's new era period. That's just an idea. I would like to talk about this more, but I think it's a very, very big possibility that we as the player can choose 2 different stories to follow at the beginning of MK12. We can choose Liu Kang's story, or we can choose Shang Tsung's story. So fans of both endings from Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath can be satisfied. At number 3 is possibly a story with no revenants. Think about it, guys. The timeline is rebooted whether you follow Shang Tsung's ending or Liu Kang's ending. There are no Revenants anymore. And this could be the first Mortal Kombat story from NetherRealm that does not include a Revenant storyline. I know a lot of people have been sick of the Revenants, I have been, and so this is probably our chance to finally get a story where they're not included. And so that makes you wonder, what's the new story going to be for the NetherRealm? Because you know the NetherRealm is going to be involved in some way. It's just going to be involved in a way that we really haven't seen before, because for the past 3 games from NetherRealm have just been Revenant stories. But now we're looking at a clean slate, and that's a very, very interesting thought. What could Quan Chi be cooking? What could Shinnok be cooking? Whatever it is, I'm excited for possibly seeing a story with no Revenants. At number 2 is something I'm really, really looking forward to, and that's the possibility of seeing a female Nightwolf. Now, we know from MK11 and Nightwolf's ending, Nightwolf is a mantle. Anybody could take up the mantle of Nightwolf. And that ending teased the possibility of seeing a female Nightwolf. And a female Nightwolf can perfectly fit in Liu Kang's time period, or the Great Kung Lao time period. And this would be a way where I believe the fan base would like a new version of a classic character. I think a lot of people would really like to see a female Nightwolf if they're going to go the route of having new versions of classic characters. So you would have to ask, how is this Nightwolf different from the Nightwolf that we know? How are their moves different? How are their costumes different? There's a whole new can of worms with the quote-unquote same character. And finally, at number 1, we kind of been talking about it throughout this entire video, is that we could possibly be seeing a story where Fire God Liu Kang trains the Great Kung Lao and creates a world where the Great Kung Lao never lost to Goro. So we could possibly be seeing Goro as the final boss, but in this game, you beat the final boss, and you be playing as the Great Kung Lao, and you would be playing in a world where the Great Kung Lao never lost to Goro. You'd be playing in a totally opposite world, in a totally different history than what we as Mortal Kombat fans know, because we all know the history of the Great Kung Lao and Goro. Goro infamously beat and killed the Great Kung Lao. But this time, we could be playing in an era where that did not happen. And how is that world going to look like? What's the future going to hold? A whole new can of worms, like I said. So those are the top 5 biggest storylines that I believe that we could see in MK12. These are some intriguing storylines if they all came true. I'd be very interested if you told me these are some of the things that we could expect in MK12. Let me know what you're expecting, and let me know what you're hoping for the story of MK12. I definitely want to talk more about the story in future videos, but remember to leave your thoughts in the comments below. I know I told you all that I'd be making an announcement about future live streams. I promise you guys I'm working on that. I just got to get some things figured out, but soon you'll hear news about that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a big thumbs up and subscribe for more Mortal Kombat content. I'll see you guys in the next video.